this is for everybody here to really get an idea about how do we reopen in the days and weeks and months ahead to restore consumer confidence so that we can weather this crisis and hopefully implement some best practices and innovations, and maybe even find some made in New West innovations that no one else is doing, so that people will flock to New West and give all their business to us. Okay, that might not be the case. We might not even want that. But ultimately, what we do want is our businesses to have the best advantage possible. And I couldn't think of a better way to do that than tapping into some of our brightest minds in the community and talking to them about what they're doing, so that hopefully we can generate some new ideas. I'm just going to do a quick poll here. Let's see. So I'm just going to launch the poll. Just a couple of questions here. One is mostly for the chamber to say, like, what support are you looking for? How can we help you with your business? And the second question was really a straw poll for, and everybody can answer that, even if you do own one of those businesses. What consumer activities are you confident resuming or comfortable resuming? I think it'd just be interesting for us to kind of get a sense of that. I know for me, some of them are more or less, and so I just think that it'd be interesting to get that. So if you want to take a moment to do that, and then I'm just going to also share a picture here. So also just want to thank our sponsors. We have our presenting sponsors, the City of New West and New Westminster Record. The Port of Vancouver has also stepped up, and these are all companies that are really helping us to present these programs for free, so we don't have to charge them, so that we can really support the entire community of New Westminster. And that's something that is really important. So I'm still just admitting people as they come along here, so forgive me for my stumbles there. So thank you very much to our sponsors for doing that, and also some of our local sponsors, Waddington Wealth Management and Lauren Nankey, as well as the Chamber's Group Insurance Plan. Again, these businesses are stepping up so that we can offer these services to you for free, and hopefully share some of the ideas and best practices that will help us be successful. Whoops. All right, so I'm just going to check in on the polling. 17 out of 27. Okay. So if you want to keep going, we're going to shut that down in just a minute, and just make sure that we've got everyone here. Excellent. So we're just going to get started in about 1 second here. 20 people out of 27 voted. Okay, so we're going to end the polling in just a second here. Anybody not finished yet? 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6. It's very exciting. The countdown is one of the most exciting things you can do on a virtual meeting. So I've heard is when you count down, then people get this sense of excitement. 3, 2, 1. All right, so in 2 minutes and 39 seconds, we have done a poll. Okay, so in terms of support, thank you very much. 40% promoting the business, survival strategies, 25%, no kidding. Being successful in your online offerings, 40%. Keeping your staff mentally healthy, assessing government programs, online privacy and security, okay, 10%. So about a third of you are comfortable with resuming dining in at a restaurant or pub. 45% of you, nearly half of you, are more comfortable dining in a restaurant or patio. Where 70% of you are comfortable with takeout. So in-person retail shopping, about half of you are comfortable with that. Personal care services, only 40% are comfortable with that. And attending small events indoors with physical distancing, only about a third. Small gathering outdoors with physical distancing, 65%. I think it's interesting to note the differences there, so that as a business owners, we can understand. I mean, obviously, this is just a small sampling, but I think just even in this, we do understand from who people are, what people are doing, and what they're comfortable with. And so you can see that you know, it does make a difference if it's indoors or outdoors and that kind of thing. And I think ultimately, again, the result that I want to have from this meeting is that everybody leaves with an idea that's going to help them instill confidence in their customers so that more customers will not only come, but come back again and again. All right. So I think I think we have almost everybody here. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to go to speaker view so we can highlight whoever's talking. I'd like to just introduce each of the panelists for a minute. Since I've got Trudy closest to me, I'll start with her. So Trudy Goals that's right, yeah, is the co-owner, CEO of Ablaze Services, which is a event management and production company, and she has specialized in events for a long time. And well, I'll let you talk. You're probably way better at introducing yourself than I am.
Thanks, Arnold. Thanks, everybody. Welcome for being here today. Before I get started to introduce myself, I just kind of want to acknowledge that we are all doing this work on the unceded territory of Kakite and other nations who claim this as their traditional lands that we're on. I think it's important that we keep that front of mind when we're doing this kind of work. I am with Ablaze Services, and besides doing event production, we do all sorts of business management consulting. So recently we've been working with organizations to help them build strategic plans in this very uncertain time, which is a really interesting process to kind of go through, as well as working with businesses to help them get the reopening strategies up and running. It's really stressful right now for a lot of people. We're all thinking about how to generate our revenue, what sorts of criteria we need to take in place. Plus, we all have our own personal overwhelming stress just because we're living through this together. So one of the things that we found that's helpful is to be able to come in and support that work and do it either with helping understand what the criteria is and some things not to forget. I have some best practices maybe I could share later with you, as well as being able to take on some of the work if that's necessary for people to help them out. So thanks for having me here.
Excellent. Thanks, Trudy. And now I'll throw it over to Clara. Clara is the owner of Urban Bliss Spa. So Clara, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm not very good at this Zoom thing, so bear with me. I own a small boutique wellness spa, which includes registered massage therapy and over 80 spa services. We have been shut down since March 21st officially, and now are planning to reopen next week. I've been in business for over 18 years. I just recently took on a storefront about 2.5 years ago. So this was year 3 and off to a bang. And yeah, so luckily the space is small and it's comfortable. So we're able to adhere to the new coronavirus protocols and social distancing. And it's easy enough to keep the place, clean and whatnot. So we offer, we have 3 registered massage therapists and 2 spa technicians on staff right now, and we're all anxious to get back to work.
Very good. And I believe we have both Galib and Hitesh, the co-owners of the Sapperton District Tap House, on. So Galib or Hitesh, why don't you just say a couple of words about who you are and what you're up to?
How you doing, guys? Galib Raji and my business partner there, Hitesh. We're owners of the Sapperton District Tap House out in Sapperton. Been there, this is our 3rd year in business. And unfortunately, this whole COVID thing has really put a dent in the situation for us. As you all know, it takes a couple of years for a small business to sort of get up and running. So this is very untimely for us, but we've stuck in there. And this actually, throughout this process, worked very closely with Royal Columbian Hospital, with the frontline staff and workers. We were able to engage in a number of programs for meal donations to the front line. And so just being able to stay in touch with the community and the frontline staff at Royal Columbian has really sort of helped us stay positive throughout this whole process and get through the process, because it's been hard. But coming together as a small community, as New West is a very small and tight community, it's really, I think that's been our biggest driving force to stay in the game and stay open, at least from a takeout perspective and things of that nature. So we're really looking forward to get open again. We're ready. We've put in all sorts of precautions and reopening strategies in place, and we're hoping to get back into the game early next week.
Very cool. Thanks, Gallup. And Anita Dunn is owner of Mila and Page. Anita, thank you for being here. I really wanted to have a sampling from different kinds of businesses, and so I really appreciate everybody coming on short notice. Anita, why don't you tell us a bit about Mila and Page?
Everyone. So Mila and Page is a clothing store on Columbia Street, specializing in women's clothing and accessories. We have a little bit of a men's collection, but not much to talk about. We were never asked to close down a couple months ago, but I made the decision to close because I felt that not enough people were socially distancing themselves at that time, and I felt like I needed to impose that on them. So we did a huge push through social media to shop online, and I was offering free delivery in New West and into some other areas of the Lower Mainland. I offered personal in-home shopping, where I would drop off a bag of clothes and people could go through it at their leisure and pick the items that they wanted, and also offered private in-store appointments. The last couple of weeks, I've just been kind of testing the waters by leaving the door open and allowing people to come in and then closing the door after people are in the store. We have like a hand sanitizer station at the front, and no one is allowed to try on the same article of clothing in the same day. So whatever is left in the change room after people leave, we leave in the change room overnight. We don't touch it for 24 hours. So we've managed to like continue our operations pretty well for the last couple of months. I did lay off staff at their request because they wanted to stay at home and isolate, which is totally understandable. But I've now brought them back full-time this week, and we're operating regular hours. And we've got our health and safety plan in check so that everybody is safe and feeling comfortable.
Very cool. Thank you, Anita. And I liked that innovation you just talked about. And I think that's one of the things I'd like to try and highlight, the idea of leaving the clothes overnight in the change room. I think that kind of thing is really, really helpful to understand what these businesses are doing. And Susan Grieg from 100 Braid Street Studios, I mean, you've got a bunch of different businesses inside there. So why don't you tell us a bit about what your status is? Oh, there you go.
There we go. 100 Braid Street, we're the largest art studio outside of Vancouver. We have 46 art studios here. So we closed to the public. We continued until the 15th of March with very small, a lot of you probably know we do paint and sip events. So we did social distancing. We have a lot of space in our gallery workshop area where we could do that. And we limited the number to about 15 people. And then we just stopped doing that. We have been closed to the public. The artists were still able to come into their studios because it's very easy to do social distancing here. Everyone has their own studio space. However, the majority of the artists essentially took their art supplies home, and people just sort of came in and out during this period of time. The biggest difficulty we've had is we had 30 events scheduled between March 15th and the end of May, and they were all canceled. That included 4 weddings and a funeral. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Sorry,
yeah,
I shouldn't laugh at that, but that's pretty good.
Yeah. So we have I've had to lay off all my staff except for one person, so I'm back to a one-man show. It's been a lot of work, and I have been pivoting to do more virtual events. So we've started our open mic nights, and we're starting to do virtual paint and sip nights. And we, depending on regulations, we may consider opening the studio again for some social distancing paint and sips. And right now I'm trying to sort out the regulations about weddings, because at this point, marriage commissioners, I think it's limited to 5 people. There may be opportunity for elopements here. I don't know. I'm just dealing with a lot of brides and grooms at this moment who are under a lot of stress.
Thank you, Susan. And
yeah, we intend to open within the next week, and certainly for Saturday Open Studio, which is the first Saturday in June.
I mean, I must say, I know that there's still we're still at the beginning of this crisis, and there's still an incredible amount of things we're going to need to weather in the coming weeks and months. But I am excited to hear that some people are getting up and going again, and I do hope that we can really have this community mobilized so that we can start patronizing each other again. Now, we'd also Chris said he was able to make it, but I didn't see him on a registration. Chris from PIVA. Chris, are you here? I can't go through the list here. Yeah. I just want to point out that all of these business owners really did this on short notice, and so I just really am grateful. Each of them was willing to share their expertise so that this entire community could be successful. So I just really appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to move on. One of the questions that we want to talk about is there are things that we're all doing. And I want to just go through each of the safety plans is going to include enhanced cleaning, potentially utilizing personal protective equipment, maybe protective barriers, and maintaining physical distancing. And so I just want to put it out there. What are you doing, panel, in terms of enhanced cleaning for your establishment? Does anybody have any, just share what some of the ideas that they are doing around that? Go ahead, Claire.
As far as enhanced cleaning protocols, prior to people booking appointments, they're asked to take a self-assessment test through the province of BC. The link is provided through the whole COVID platform. So I've incorporated that onto the website. I've also updated my etiquette, my spa etiquette list to include all the extra protocol that has been placed on us and our customers. So briefly, the first thing is, of course, making sure that clients do not book appointments when they're sick, and to stay at home until they're better. If they've traveled outside of the country, to stay at home for 14 weeks. So basically what we need to assess first is that they are not sick, because we can't have them in the clinic if they are. The other enhanced protocols that I'm doing as far as a service provider, there's the whole place is going to be like deep cleaned like next week. I've hired a staff of cleaning people to come in and help me, and I'll be in there myself on my hands and knees with a scrub brush and bleach. Not that the place isn't already clean, but it's just basically a nice way of starting out again.
Claire, I'm just going to jump in for a second. That's a really good question. So one of the questions I have is, what are the products that you're using to disinfect? Obviously, bleach is one that's good, but does anybody have an easy one or a good one or a cheap one? Is anybody doing something innovation of that, or has sourced a good product besides bleach? Bleach has a potent smell as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The place smells like bleach after I've cleaned. However, we are able to access hospital grade disinfectants, which I have always used as far as disinfecting surfaces and implements, all sorts of things. So, but it's very harsh. I have lost my fingerprints due to that disinfectant. So it's you have to wear gloves and whatnot. We've also going to be wearing face masks throughout treatments, also gloves, of course. But these are things I've been doing for the last 20 years or 18 years. So that part of my dynamic hasn't changed because I'm comfortable doing that already. But the screening process prior to customers coming in, that's the extra step that's going to take time, which I'm probably not at the right point right now, but I wanted to talk about if there's anybody out there that knows of any self-test formats or templates that they have been using for their businesses. Mind you, I guess if you have a restaurant, you can't ask everybody to fill out a form. But in our case, if we have clients coming in, we need to do that extra step. That's protocol by WorkSafe as well as the Fraser Health.
Is anyone doing a cleaning when customers arrive or before and after customers? I'm really curious. When I was at Costco, one of the things I noticed is that they had people with disinfectant wipes, one at each bank of the refrigerated doors, wiping off the handles as we shopped. And I saw them doing that, all the shopping. Not that I'm not shopping local, but there's some cheese that you just can't get. Anyway. But the bottom line is that really actually made me have a lot of confidence shopping there, is to actually see the cleaning taking place. Does anybody have any, is anybody else planning on doing that either while their customers are there or with their customers?
I mean, we're wiping down the payment machine and the counter frequently after customers have come in. Our doors are open. So we're not wiping that down if people aren't touching it, but if we are closing the door, we do wipe the handle down afterwards. And yeah, stools in the change rooms, which I've been wiping down after people have come in and out. But not as frequent as Costco sounds like.
Yeah, well, they have, I guess, a few extra staff perhaps.
Yeah.
Galib, how about you with from the restaurant perspective? What are you guys planning on doing in terms of enhanced cleaning?
So we've got 3 protocols we put into place. We actually just had our staff meeting last night to go over retraining and reopening. In terms of tables, we have all tables have been separated by 6 feet at this point. Every single table is going to be fully wiped down and disinfected after each use. So every time a group, first of all, the requirement is that a group can only sit at a table in no more than 6 people. Also, they have to be from the same household. So we have initially, when a group sits down at a table, they'll be provided with a contact tracing information sheet to fill out. That's very important, because if for any reason there was some sort of spread of the virus that could be traced back, then we need to be able to contact that individual, or at least Health Canada needs to be able to contact that individual and find out who they've been in contact with, etc., from the time of the restaurant. So one is the contact tracing worksheet that will be filled out immediately upon being seated. Bathrooms, doors, doorknobs, all touchable surfaces are going to be disinfected hourly on the hour. And every table, every chair, every surface that is touchable at the table space will be completely disinfected after each use. So essentially, once the group leaves, that gets completely disinfected. New gloves will be used for each disinfecting. And also, we are opening up in 2 phases. Our first phase of opening is a minimal contact service, which hasn't really been done before. The idea is sort of a hybrid between restaurant and the current brewery concept, where typically in a brewery, you walk in and you go and order your own drinks, you take them to your table yourself. In this particular case, you will have a server, but that server will bring you all your drinks and food in recyclable containers with recyclable utensils. So it's one use only. So for our first phase, which will last somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks, we haven't decided yet, everything will be provided in recyclable containers. The customer will sit at the table. They'll be served their food or their drinks. At the end of their service, they will remove their own utensil stuff, and there'll be recycling bins placed within the district tap house for them to go and then place the recyclables in there. So there's as minimal a contact as possible for our first phase of opening, which again is anywhere between 2 and 4 weeks, and then we'll sort of gauge what things look like and go from there. So that's our plan.
Can I ask a question about that contact form?
Yeah, me too.
Because a friend of mine brought it up to me this morning, and then I read about it in the newspaper that restaurants are now going to be required to have a contact form in case there is a spread. But why is it just restaurants and not every establishment? I mean, if someone comes into my store and they've been infected, I have no way of contacting them. And is this something that maybe in New Westminster we establish our own form, and that everybody hands this out? So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on this. Everyone's thoughts.
I think it's a really interesting and good idea. I mean, one of the elements of just being able to contact your customers, it might be a good way to actually encourage them to give you their contact information, so that so you kind of have that dual purpose of being able to keep in touch with them, but also be able to make sure that they're safe and if there's any outbreak. So it's a really interesting idea.
And is there like any freedom of information implications of people giving this information? Like, I don't know if you can refuse service if someone doesn't give you their information.
That's a good question. Anybody else have any thoughts around that?
I don't have any thoughts, but it's interesting to me because with our paint and sip nights, we do collect information from people before they come in, but you know, I was trying to modify there. We fall between everything. Like our paint and sip nights will be following some of the same protocols as for restaurants. We are not going to be serving any food at this point in time, and you know, we are cleaning on the hour is what our plans were, and then family groups with, you know, distancing. But the contact sheet is very interesting, and yeah, someone just contacted me about that as well. So,
very, very good. Trudy, what are you advising companies with regards to cleaning? Is there anything in particular that that you haven't heard or that you might suggest?
No, I think that Fraser Health is driving those guidelines, and they are the ones that should be driving them. So they have a list of cleaners that you should be using, the types of different disinfectants you should be using, protocols around cleaning to ensure those things. They're the experts on this.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things I always do, not to be too personal, is when after in the bathroom, I always hate touching the bathroom door, and so I use the tissue to open the door, and then I throw that out. And I'm wondering about, is anybody planning on using like you know, mounting tissue boxes in front of maybe doors or bathroom handles or places like that, so someone can use a single use and open the door and then toss that? Is that an idea that's that gotten out there at all, or is that something that people are planning on doing? Just me, huh? Okay, well that's okay. Anyway, if it makes sense, then we can go ahead and do that. Now, what is everybody doing in terms of personal protective equipment? I guess there's the what you would do personally, whether it's masks, gloves, gowns, and then there's the barriers at points of sale. Can you guys let me know, again, all these guidelines are available and from, as you say, Fraser Health and WorkSafe BC and various other places. I think WorkSafe BC also has links for various industries in terms of guidelines, and I'm sure that you guys are all more expert on that than I am, so I'll leave that to you. But ultimately, what are you doing with regards to personal protective equipment?
Well, at our store, we're all wearing masks. All the staff are wearing masks when we get within 6 feet of somebody, because sometimes, well, I mean, we're grabbing clothes from people. And it's not the N95 or the proper PPE, but it is a mask. And it's more for the customers to feel safer. And I just ordered a barrier for the counter. I was kind of humming and hawing on whether I needed to do that if we are wearing a mask, but I feel like going forward, it's probably just another thing that's going to make consumers feel safer in the store.
I think those barriers actually offer a really interesting opportunity for businesses. So I was watching a video about a local restaurant that is installing them at the ends of tables. And so there's an opportunity, because the bottom half of it is actually not used when your server is standing there, is to create a contactless menu that's actually adhered to your barrier, so that you can have that there so that you don't need to hand out menus to people, or to put on a QR code or something that lets them scan it to their phone to bring up a current menu onto their phone. So there's some innovation around that. So I'm thinking about what you could do in a retail setting that would be that would be beautiful, that would be really interesting, that would actually create a nice environment rather than looking clinical for you.
I think that's really great. I was having a conversation yesterday with the general manager of the Fairmont at YVR, and asking him what he was doing with protective barriers. And he said that he had found this ultra thin plastic that looked really nice, but instead of just putting it on the counters, he actually hung it from the ceiling. And I thought that was a really creative way to do that, so that it just kind of added an artistic flair to it, as opposed to just kind of having a barrier sitting there that could fall over or whatnot. Has anybody thought about some creative ideas around using barriers in an artistic way? And truly, I love that idea around menus, and I was thinking about that from there's some marketing opportunities there too. Creative ways for barriers. All right, well, maybe the hanging barriers is the case. Now, where are you sourcing? Obviously, there's a bunch of different places to do this, but has anybody found a really good source for protective barriers?
I ordered mine from Eddie's Hang Up Display, which is where I buy a lot of my retail stuff.
Eddie's Hang Up Display. Victoria, can you put that in the chat? Are they sold out? How long does it take to get them?
I don't think they're sold out. They're completely stocked up as far as I know. I put in the order this morning, so they're supposed to get back to me within 24 hours when I can go pick it up. And it's just in like the Olympic Village area.
Okay. Does anybody know any local suppliers for either personal protective equipment or physical barriers?
So guys, I'm just looking at an email I just received actually from a good friend of mine that actually worked with me closely at my previous bar in Port Moody. They're called Milstead Data Supplies. He just sent me an email about they've brought in a whole bunch of lower priced acrylic products to create barriers, customized barriers and things of that sort. So I haven't seen the details yet, but email just came through. He's been working for Milstead for many years, and typically they bring in all sorts of unique products of this sort. So that might be a source. I'll be looking closely at that. For us, we have decided not to go with any barriers at this point. We're just going with distancing and minimal contact. It's very difficult in the bar and restaurant industry, especially in the pub setting. I love the idea of that menu being put on a QR code or something to be able to bring that up. So I think I'm going to look into that, because our menus are all we've laminated all our menus now so that they're easy to disinfect. But the idea of someone being able to just pull it up on their own screen. Of course, our menus are on our website and things of that nature. But yeah, a QR code is actually a fantastic idea. And Arnold, like I said, there's so many marketing opportunities here. This is a horrible time, and it's but in all this awful stuff that's going on, there are opportunities. There are opportunities to change the way you do business. One of the things that myself and Hitesh and our team have been discussing a lot is that typically when you try and make changes in a business, you're most concerned about the backlash from your consumer and your patrons. In this particular case, we have an opportunity to make those changes where people will be more understanding about them. Removing a level of service, for instance, typically people don't like to see that. Here, because of the fact that we do need to reduce contact, we need to be safer, we need to be more cognizant of people's safety. You can remove elements of service that typically are considered, not an option in the service industry. So we are also looking at things like that. There might be some long-term opportunities here to change the way we do business in the future, just because of this. So call it a silver lining or a blessing in disguise, but we do need to look for those opportunities as business owners in this awful situation to be able to continue and move forward. So, this whole online menu system and things are something we would want to look at as well. So thank you for that comment.
Thanks, Khalid. I just noticed my phone was still on. I just want to point out in the chat that Kendra from Downtown BIA pointed out that Instant Imprints on Columbia has plexiglass barriers. There is a bit of a wait. Also, Aaron from the Uptown BIA mentioned that the New West City on their COVID information page also has a guide to resources. And Jen has reposted that. Always looking to add more. So if you come across them, make sure you get in touch with Jen at the city. I just want to give a shout out to the Economic Development Department at the city. I think they're doing a great job of really helping the businesses and really trying to find any way they can to support this community to be successful. So I know that they're working incredibly hard and diligently for that. So a big thumbs up to the city, and I guess an honorable mention to both Aaron and Kendra, who are also working hard for all those members in downtown and uptown. Alan from Speed Pro Imaging in Coquitlam, they can get barriers, but they are going quickly. There you go. We've got a few things going on there. Thank you so much for taking the time. This is great. We're going to move on a bit more. One of the things that I think is super important, ultimately, it's about consumer confidence and what can we do? What are the strategies that we can do that are really going to enhance consumer confidence so they come back? I mean, if you looked at some of those early poll numbers, it was very low, 30% coming in dining restaurants, 40%. So I think that this is one of the things that's going to be a big challenge for all businesses, is how do we get people to overcome their fear? So I'm curious about what communication strategies you're using for your customers, for your staff, in person and digitally, in terms of communicating what you're doing to keep your customers safe. Like, Anita, are you telling your customers in any way about the leaving clothes tried on once and how that's going? How are you doing that?
Verbally. As soon as anyone walks through the door, we point them to the hand sanitizing station, and then we let them know that whatever you don't buy but try on, no one else can try it on. And that actually helps people not just grab everything. They're being a little bit more picky about what they're going to try on. And then I think the other thing we're doing is we're still offering private appointments. Like, if someone wants to try on clothes but is scared, we're giving them the opportunity to have the store completely to themselves for 45 minutes. And that they can do directly from our website now. They can book an appointment.
Oh, that's very cool. How about everybody else? So what are your communication, and well, just if you have anything, let's say on-site communication for what you're doing with regards to the safety protocols you have in place. Does anybody have any on-site communication that they're using?
I've already communicated everything with my clients, although I'm not open yet till June 1st. But the people that have booked in for June 1st, I'm almost fully booked now till the middle of June. So I don't have much of an issue with people not being, that are being apprehensive and coming in. So these are people that I've been seeing for, 15 years regularly. They trust our protocols, and so I've communicated it through my website, through eBlast as well. And people have been calling, and so I've reassured them that everything that they're going to be protected when they come in. It's a little bit different with us because we can't social distance in what we're doing. My RMTs are going to be within the 2-meter distance, but we'll be wearing masks up as best as we can. And we've asked our clients to bring their own mask as well. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, I think that was the second part of the question, which is what are the digital strategies you're using? But I'm just curious about on-site communication strategies for, is anybody using signage or either just around the store or in the windows or in the restaurant around what they're doing to help people feel comfortable?
We have a sign at the front door that basically just says that we are closed except for by appointment only, and that they should text a number, and then someone will meet them basically at the door, as long as they stand 6 feet away. But
Right.
That's like, we're not really explaining, what to do, but that's essentially what we have on the outside at this point. But I may create something that actually says, for because we have so many different, it could be an appointment with an artist, it could be a paint and sip night. There's just so many different options. So generally I just find it's easier to have a sign that says, do not come in, and then somebody will come and talk with them personally.
So I chuckled when you said that. The first time ever a business says, don't come in.
Yeah, that's about it. It's crazy.
One of the
Arnold.
things- Oh, sorry.
sorry.
That's being done at Billard Architecture is that they've separated out which entrance gets used for whom. So staff and clients use one entrance and all deliveries come in the other. So that way the volume of delivery that comes in, so you don't have people tracking in technically viruses or whatever, but coming in that they have a safe place to come in and make a delivery. Staff and clients use a different entrance so that it also limits who's coming in those entrances.
That's cool.
Yeah, so there's clear signage out in the hallway now to make sure that people get directed into the right entry.
That's very good. And what are you advising? Sorry, I was just checking. Someone had said my name. Who was it that said my name?
Oh, that was me, Arnold. Sorry.
Oh, thanks, Alan. COVID sucks. I like
Sorry.
that.
Oh, yes. Seems to be popular, a popular sentiment anyways.
Oh, signage. Yeah, this is a great, what a great opportunity for Alan here in terms of on-site signage. Go,
Yes,
go Alan, go.
Sorry, we, no, what we did is at the beginning, actually, we did put a sign on the door. It said, stop, this is not business as usual. Here's the different ways that we can get you your product. You can call us, we'll bring it out. We have people that drive by with their cars and they have pop-up trunks. So we'd put the product in the trunks and then they go about their business, obviously to do contactless. The amusing thing to me is that we have this, and it's a removable product, but it's clear as day on the sign that people just reef on the door, right? So they're not actually, there's this huge sign in front of them and they're reefing on the door and then they go to the window and they knock on the window. So, it's kind of amusing to me. And what I've noticed is, because I've gone to the liquor store, not for me, of course, but, and they have all these 8.5 by 11 printouts on the door, but no one's really paying attention to what they say, right? And then Sport Check opened on the weekend and they had put just little green tape on the ground, and that was supposed to be their social distance. And again, people weren't paying attention to it. So just as a parting thought, we did some signage for a golf course. And at first they said, hey, here's the general things we would like you to do as golfers. And then 2 days later, the GM said, can you make everything in red and make the terms harsher, like don't do this and don't do that. And by the third time, it was like, we're finding you or we're kicking you out because people just weren't paying attention. So, it's just one of those things I like to go over with businesses, because we have found that a lot of times people just aren't paying attention to what you put out, depending on what it looks like. Thank you.
No, I think that's great. So basically, really clear instruction and don't be ambiguous in terms of directing what you want people to do. I think that personally, I've also noticed there's been some times when I've been out shopping that they've had things like this surface has been wiped recently, or some of the things that they're doing. Like I think that it would be great to have that on your website, Anita, around the policy about trying on clothes and leaving it in the change room. I think that's brilliant, and ultimately might encourage people to come back. Is anybody harnessing their customers to do cleaning in terms of offering wipes or that sort of thing, so that they have the option to do it themselves? Because I think that's something that most people, ultimately, if I haven't seen it wiped right in front of me, I just don't trust that it's virus free, And so I would either rather do it myself or actually see it being wiped. Is anybody planning on doing that in terms of Galit, go ahead.
Yeah, we are actually, as I mentioned, we'll be moving to a almost no contact type service for phase one. But because we are using either disposable or recyclable product, we really become known for our craft draft beer right now. Unfortunately, in phase one, we're not bringing back a draft beer for the first 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll be providing all our craft beers in cans. So a can will be provided to you at your table, and you'll be provided with disinfectants to wipe the can yourself prior to either pouring it, or if you wanted to consume it directly from the can. So, and again, like I said earlier on, that our customers will be removing their own recyclable dishes and glassware and plateware off the table. A lot of our products are going to be either bamboo or paper-based, things of that nature. So we're sort of empowering the customer to a certain extent to participate in the safety program, in the cleaning program, things of that nature. And so we will be providing those things at the table level as well. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I think that's great. Now, in terms of communication strategies digitally, what are people doing in terms of communicating to their customers so that they, I mean, we already heard from Clara that she's basically contacted. I mean, I think that's one of the things when you have a tight-knit group of people that you can communicate with, it's much easier to kind of say what you're doing. So what digital strategies are people employing in terms of either the messaging or the format to let people know what they're up to with regards to reopening?
We're just, we put it out on Instagram, on Facebook, through our newsletter, but also then our blog on our website. So that information will be going out within the next couple of days, but that's our intent.
And are you listing all of the protocols or enhanced protocols that you are doing with regards? Is that how you're approaching it?
When we put protocols into place in March already, I didn't list everything, but I did have a list of those items so that when people came to the studio, if they wanted to know specifically, they could. But you know, we were fairly general in what we said. This time, what I've got so far is a little bit more detailed. And I'm not listing any of the products or things that we're using, but just really reassuring people that we are taking care of that social distancing part and that we are disinfecting, you know, things that they're touching. That's our main focus.
So on all four elements, you got blog, Instagram, or blog, social, and email. Anybody else have an innovative strategy for in terms of what they're doing or how they're doing it, or a messaging that they're promoting in terms of what they're doing?
My business is a little bit different. I'm a professional organizer, so I actually go into people's homes, clients' homes, to help them declutter and get organized. So it's different than having a storefront. And I shut down mid-March. I'm only just starting to look into protocols, and I've been doing this. There's been a lot of discussions with our industry on how this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I have done is to do just a simple survey on SurveyMonkey to inquire to current and past clients as to what they are comfortable with, what they are expecting, and how much they will work with me in order to keep this going, because I'm going to need to know some questions about their home, who's been in their home, how many people are in their home, where have they been, if we've had maintenance or cleaning crew come in, etc. Because as an organizer going into a house, well, I can tell you, first of all, when I started this business, I got sick for the first 2 years because going into other people's homes, everybody has their own germs anyway. So there's that. But just learning to what they are comfortable with, etc. And a lot of us are also looking into moving more into virtual organizing.
Difficult to move the stuff around with that. I just want to say, Katarina from Sweet Legs New West said that she needs your services, so you guys can hook up offline. Susan, you wanted to say?
You know what, Arnold? I do have one other thing that we're doing. We use Eventbrite for all of our ticket sales. So one of the things that we what I have done and what I will do again for people who are coming to the studio for paint and sip events will be an automatic email that they receive 2 days in advance, which will outline all of our protocols. So if you have a system like that and you can automate it, I think that takes off so much work for me.
Very good. Has anyone done a survey of their staff? Maybe Trudy, maybe you've done this, or what people expect. And did you discover something that was surprising in terms of what people were expecting?
One of the things that I think that we haven't touched on yet and is really important to communicate out to people is what your sick leave policy is for your staff. So WorkSafe is saying that if you are showing symptoms, you should be staying home for 10 days, which is not our culture and how we work. We come back to work as soon as we feel well enough. So what is your policy? How are you ensuring that your staff can make that choice and not be choosing between their income and staying at home? And what's your backup plan to make sure that it's filled? So sharing that information provides really great comfort to your customers that you are actually looking after your employees, but that you're looking after them as well, that they're not going to come in and somebody had to make a choice to come to work today, even though maybe they have some symptoms.
That's awesome. That was worth the price of admission right there, I think. I think ultimately, again, any of these strategies that really help people to feel comfortable about coming back, that these are all the ones that we need to make happen. I just want to check in because Galina asked, is anyone planning on providing complimentary masks to people who attend, either for free or maybe for a small fee? So, potentially, hey, here's by the door for an extra $1, free with purchase, or something like that. Clara, are you planning on providing masks?
No, but I do have a comment. I received a letter from Fraser Health, and I don't have it here in front of me, but it did say that it isn't mandatory for us to ask our clients to wear a mask or for us to take any temperature testing either. So that was something that was sent to me a couple of days ago. So I'm a little confused as to what would be the right thing to do. Obviously, I'm leaning more towards encouraging our clients to wear masks, but in a situation where you're actually face down getting a massage, your face is in a hole and you're not going to be able to breathe very well or comfortably. And so there's going to be some issues around that. But yeah, like I said, Fraser Health didn't actually say that it is mandatory. Like for Galib and Hitesh, you can't possibly ask your customers to wear a mask because how are they going to eat and drink? Right? So I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm hearing conflictual information from FHA and also from WorkSafe. So I don't know. I think we need to look at our businesses, and mine is so small that it's,
yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Well, and I think that ultimately there's still lots to learn, but again, I think that it really comes down to not necessarily the science. Obviously, you want to capitalize on that, but there's also the things that you can do that just really restore confidence. So if it is about wearing masks, if that's something that the public really seems to want, then regardless of whether or not it's mandated, it might be something you want to adopt. Now we're getting close to the end of our time. My one quick question that's super important to me: does anybody know a source for some really cool masks so that you don't look like such a dweeb when you're wearing them? I saw an Instagram, I think about 3 months ago, where you actually get a picture, your own picture of your mouth, and so it looks like your mouth. But is there any local suppliers who are making really cool masks, or has anybody got a source of that?
I'm selling them.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I have Brian Hughes, who owns Game Deals. I don't know if he's on the chat right now, but he had a source that he's getting some masks from Vietnam, so I'm selling them for him. And then I've also got Dobbin Design, which is a Vancouver-based company. Mm-hmm. They're making a mask here in Vancouver, and they have really neat like marble designs. Plain black ones. Everyone wants plain black, but I've got floral ones, unicorns, plaid, a whole bunch of different ones.
Oh, very cool. Well, there you go. We got a local supplier. And I see Kendra also put faceinthecrowd.ca. I'm not sure if that's...
those are the ones coming from Brian.
Okay. Oh, perfect. I love it. I love it. One of the thoughts I had about this is that we all these businesses have really good reviews online. But I think one of the things that's going to be more prevalent in the weeks and months ahead is people are going to be wondering, how clean is this business? How well are they taking care of their staff and customers? And so I want to start a movement in New West where we start reviewing each other specifically to complement the enhanced safety protocols and cleaning protocols, so that, again, you have that, not only is it like, wow, great store, I love the fashion, and I really appreciated the fact that they had hand sanitizer and that they leave their garments overnight in the change room without people having to try on. I felt really comfortable shopping there. I think that kind of review could potentially make a difference for people who are shopping. So this is my call to action for the community is really work together to give each other those kind of reviews, because I do think that will help the general public to feel confident. And ultimately, as a community, it's going to be up to all of us to try and enhance that. Now, we're obviously part of that as well. So, how comfortable we are is going to make a difference. And I know for me personally, even after this conversation, I feel much more confident about potentially going to a Saskatoon District Tap House for a beer, knowing that they've got, disposable and what they're doing. So, because I live right down the road from there, so I'll probably be in there quite a bit more. Anyway, I just want to say, so I think this kind of communication to the public is really important. Oh, go ahead, Clara.
I have a question.
Oh, hey,
I think I like your idea, but my only feedback is that we're humans. We're going to make a mistake. Anita is going to forget something. I'm going to forget something. The positive reviews are good, but someone is going to point that Anita forgot to do this, and then that could lead into something that is not good for the business. That's my only take. I think that positive feedback is great, but it could just turn into the opposite.
So you think that positive feedback is good, but it might have the opposite effect?
No, but what I'm saying is, if someone just make a mistake, if you're encouraged to do reviews about like how clean is a place, if for any reason we forget something, that little oversight could turn into like something negative for the business.
Yeah, it's such a big challenge and really unfair, because oftentimes when people have had a bad experience, they're more likely to review, whereas you might have hundreds of positive experiences and one bad experience. And that, I think in some ways that, makes the case that you need to make sure that you're piling up those positive reviews. And I think that, asking that like having your friends, not necessarily your friends, but your good customers do that and encouraging them to review you, I think really helps to mitigate that, because as you say, Alejandro, it doesn't, people are going to make mistakes and they're not always going to follow, and it's going to take some time for these habits to come into place. But if there's this overwhelming evidence that for the most part you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, then I think that's going to help to mitigate those one or two mistakes where you have a person who's had a bad day and decides they want to take a shot. So I mean, it's a really good point though, overall. Now, just a quick question: is anyone else having trouble bringing their staff back or getting rehiring staff? Is there any communication that you're doing to your staff? Is everybody doing kind of a protocol meeting where you're looking at each of your staff to make sure they understand? I suppose that's the other thing, and I think that's another thing that to communicate to people is, here is the training that we've given to our staff. We make sure that they understand that. Each of our staff has been through a training process where they understand the protocols, and that's an element that's happened again to make sure that that consumers are coming in have some confidence in who's serving them. Okay. Also, Rich from Patterson Brands said that he's got lots of masks too. So you know what? It is 12:45. Hopefully, has this been good? Can I just get a quick a thumbs up from people if this has been something that has been helpful and beneficial for them? I really appreciate everybody taking the time. My goal was to hopefully have at least one good idea taken from this. So hopefully that's what's happened. In the coming weeks and months ahead, the people in this community are going to need to band together to support each other. We're not sure what the financial situation is going to be moving forward, but hopefully if we can all get through, then by the end, then we'll be stronger as a community and as businesses. So I'm really encouraging everybody, for whatever we can do to support each other, please do that. And from a chamber perspective, next week we have our digital marketing panel again on the Monday. And you know what, at the last one of the things that we talked about is the importance of having a strategy. And if you don't have a strategy for your digital marketing, oftentimes you're doing tactics or spending money without getting the results you want. So next week's session is going to be all about digital marketing strategy. And so if that's something you want to do, test yours, have questions answered, please join us on Monday from 11:30 to 1. I think that's it. I thank you again. Does anybody have any last minute comments, any piece of optimism they'd like to share? Well, in that case,
wait. Sorry. I was just going to say that in our business, we've always had clients come in, we would give them their service, and then they would pay. So now we're actually mitigating a 50% deposit for all our spa services in order to not encourage no-shows. So that is a system that I've just put in place. The other thing I've also put in place, which is really exciting for our customers, is a rewards points program. So when they do come in and they book in spa services or buy product, they build reward points, and then they can redeem them for a discount. So it's an encouragement for them to come back. And so those are two things outside of COVID that is a positive for my business, because we rely on our appointments to show up. And if they don't, then, you know, we got gaps in our day.
That's pretty important.
Yeah.
Any last comments? Go ahead, Hitesh. Hey, Hitesh, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? We're planning to do a soft opening on Friday.
Okay.
So if you feel like getting away from the house or coming down for a cold beer, please do.
All right, thanks. Rich, were you going to say something? I noticed you launched your video, or just giving a thumbs up. No. All right. Okay, excellent. Thank you for the extra time. It is 12:48. You've given me 3 extra minutes. I do try and be on time. But thank you, everybody, for being here. We are, if you guys have any events or any information or any guests that you'd like to see on these, then by all means, send me an email. We've got some pretty exciting coming up, but we're trying to fly by the seat of our pants here and be reactive to what's happening in the environment. It makes it a little difficult to plan ahead, but ultimately we are hoping to have many more of these conversations that are going to inform this community so we can be successful. Thanks again, and looking forward to seeing everybody next time.
Thanks.
And super thanks to all our panelists. You guys were just awesome. Just awesome. All right. Thanks again. Okay, ending.